morning and welcome to Coffee with Bann. Today's brew is Green Mountain Iced Vanilla Caramel. And today's topic is the Xbox One. I am so confused. Why? Wow! That is bitter. Oh, that's really bitter. Why is that so bitter? It's not meant to be hot, is it? You know what? This calls for some salt. This is too bitter for me. Yeah, I think that's better. It's a little bit less bitter. But if I add any more salt to it, it's going to become salty, and I don't want sea salt coffee. Thanks. So, Xbox One. This is a special edition Xbox One, as you can probably tell. It's Minecraft. I got this on Facebook Marketplace. Got it for like $70. I basically traded a PS4 for it. And I think it's just very cute. It's cute and neat, and when you turn it on, it plays a little bit of a Minecraft song, and if you hit eject, it plays the piston sound and then the item dropping sound, and I love it. Anyway, the Xbox One, which is... I don't have that much experience with the Xbox One itself. I more have experience with the Xbox Series consoles. Well, one of them. I did not own an Xbox One until after owning a Series. The Series X. But I think I can still talk about it because surprisingly they're not that different. So, design-wise, the Xbox One has had a couple of revisions. There was the original, which looked, how you say, bad. Now, that might be a little bit harsh, admittedly. Like, it looked boring, is the thing. I don't think it was really that bad, just boring. It was very rectangular. It kind of looked like a VCR, as a lot of people have pointed out. Honestly, the main thing I don't like about it is just the fact that it's part glossy. I don't think glossy consoles look that good. And fingerprints are not fun. I do not like fingerprints on my consoles, and I move them around a good bit, so I do know how bad fingerprints can get. Me no likey. Glossy controllers. Ugh. Anyway, the original Xbox One, boring, very rectangular, and not interesting, really. And then, the Xbox One S, which was boxy, but not just rectangular. You can see sort of a little lip here. And it looks a lot nicer, I'd say. I don't have, like, a white Xbox One S to show anymore. I sold it. But, like, it's got the vent hole things on the one side here, with the clean on the other. And I think the One S looks nice. Then there's the One X, which looks very similar to the One S, but the disk drive is not. It's not here. It's like down here, nearly invisible, and I don't know. It looks nearly identical. I've seen people confuse the two. Now, admittedly, the One X has its own differences, That being, it's a good bit more powerful. Substantially might not be the right word, but like it is more powerful than the 1S, which is itself actually a bit more powerful than the original one. And also faster. The original one, from what I have seen, oh boy. How do I put this? I have this hard drive, right? It has virtually 0 cache. It is 5400 RPM. It is terrible. I got it from my brother, who really did not want it after he upgraded his laptop. Hello, Macbeth. It is terrible. That's about what I think the Xbox One original is. It would take a solid, like, 6 minutes to load into Windows, probably. And that's Windows 7. No, actually, that hard drive performs surprisingly well on Windows 7 and 8. But, like, if you want to see the performance of that hard drive, I did a live stream of The Last of Us, where my PS3 had that hard drive, and I spent half the stream playing Sonic CD because I just needed something to do on the stream during load times. It really was that bad. Anyway, that's about what I expect the Xbox One original to be like. I've seen some videos and it doesn't seem good. I haven't experienced it myself though, and I'm not super keen on doing it unless I can get it for like $15. Which, considering recent developments, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to anymore. Probably could have done that maybe like a couple months ago. Getting a little bit off topic. Or off track, I guess. So, the Xbox One, all of them, need a controller. Which is where this thing comes in. It is the controller of all time. It feels like a warped 360 controller, sort of. Like, it's like they flattened down a 360 controller, in a lot of ways. If you can see the two at all, or you can sort of see the family resemblance. But, yeah, it feels fine. I think I like the 360 controller a little bit more than the Xbox One controller, but it's fine. Admittedly, this controller doesn't actually work properly. See, an A-log issue, which is technically a different controller from this, but also this controller has a similar issue. Anyway, it feels fine. Now, they updated it when the series consoles came out, and this feels slightly more fine. The Xbox Series controller, or just Xbox controller as it's probably called, I don't know, this one needs a little bit of cleaning. Xbox Wireless Controller, that's officially what it's called. The Xbox Wireless Controller feels very similar to the Xbox One controller, but a little bit different in a couple of key ways. It doesn't have like a little ridge here, which is odd. They didn't need to get rid of that, but they didn't need to keep it. It wasn't really... Could have gone either way, doesn't matter. They have a share button, which is neat, I guess. And the D-pad is, how do I put this? The D-pad is different. That's code for bad? No, I'm kidding. I actually prefer this one. It's most people, I don't know, some people don't care for the weird 8-way D-pads or anything with like a shield, but I'm fine with it on this. Honestly, if anything, the Xbox One's D-pad feels too flat to be a regular, or like the regular cross shape doesn't work with something that is sort of this thin. It doesn't have enough travel for a regular cross shape to work for me. Or at least not. It's something about it. I don't like it that much, honestly. Of course, my biggest gripe is the fact that the little battery cover thing is not interchangeable between the two devices. That would have been nice. Anyway. Oh, the Series 1 does feel just a little bit more solid. The one controller feels slightly cheaper, I think. Slightly lighter, slightly cheaper. Just I like the Series controller more. So, back from controllers, because I've already talked about these in YouTube Shorts at some point. The Xbox One had multiple UIs, which is kind of par for the course already for Xbox. I mean, the 360 had 3 or 4 different styles. There was the blades, the new Xbox experience. There was the Kinect version of the new Xbox experience, which was a little bit different. And then there was Metro, which I don't see enough people talking about this. Metro changed slightly. They changed the Metro UI on 360 just a little bit at some point, and nobody talks about it. They changed it from like 2 rows to 3 for a lot of things. Anyway. But yeah, the Xbox One has had at least 2, I think 3 actually, different UIs. First one, terrible. Having seen videos, I have no idea how anybody ever navigated it, and it was very clear that it was, not well thought through. I can only really talk about the very original and the current one, because I don't remember what the other one is. But, the current one is serviceable. It's fine. It's not perfect. I would appreciate if they had, if it were just a little bit snappier. But honestly, it's perfectly navigable. I don't really have that much issue with it. I like it more than the PS4 UI. Admittedly, I just don't like the PS4 UI. This is the first episode where I'm using bullet points rather than just talking off the cuff, and so if things don't quite line into each other, that's probably why. So on the topic of not the multiple UIs, because I can't really talk that much about them, backward compatibility, which is something the Xbox One didn't have at launch. Neither did the PS4, and the PS4 continues to not have that, ever. But the Xbox One did eventually get some backwards compatibility. It can run Xbox 360 games, and by extension original Xbox games, though not that many of them. If I recall correctly, the original Xbox emulator is actually just the 360 one, but, like, it's running the one that was on the 360. So it's an emulator within an emulator, if I recall correctly. I'd have to look that up, but I think I remember hearing that. But it can run the 360 games, at least some of them, and the ones it can run, it runs very well, actually. It's just a shame that compatibility was never enhanced further than it was, because, like, there are some games on 360 that I'd like to be able to run on here, but just can't. Admittedly, I do have 4 360s, so, 5 if you count the family one. But, it technically not an issue, but I'd like to be able to run it on here, you know? But, like, it's, I don't know. It can run 360 games, and it can run some Xbox One games. And I just gotta say, I appreciate that. They're doing better than Sony in that regard. Sony has never... They refuse to let PS3 games run on anything other than a PS3, unless you're using their paid-for streaming service. Which, speaking of streaming services, kind of, Game Pass! Game Pass was introduced, what, like... Wait, actually, when was Game Pass introduced? Okay, I was right, it was 2017. Game Pass was a Netflix-ish service launched in 2017 by Microsoft, that you just paid a subscription, and you would get all of these games for playing whenever you want, right? Some would go on and be taken off over time, but, like, you would get... It was basically a Netflix for games, but you still had to install them. Eventually, they did include cloud streaming, which... neat, but, like... I've tried it. It wasn't fantastic. I mean, it's not like I've got terrible internet or something. I've got, you know, I've got 100 up and down fiber, so it's not bad. It is perfectly adequate for streaming anything else. I don't think that it being games that I'm streaming is the issue. Game Pass is pretty neat. They've got multiple tiers. There's a version for PC, there's a version for console, there's, like, Starter, which I'll get back to that later. There's Ultimate, and it comes with what used to be called Xbox Live Gold. Now it's just Game Pass. Anyway, that's the online service thing. Got a couple of random stuffs here to say. First off, always a little bit annoyed at the Xbox One and Xbox One S, because they don't include HDMI CEC. They absolutely could have. I know for a fact they could have. The PS3 includes it. This came out after the PS3, obviously. This came out a week after the PS4. They could have included it, and they didn't, and I wish they did. HDMI CEC actually works through the HDMI in port on the back, which, I guess that's something else to talk about. The Xbox One was designed with TV in mind. You're meant to plug in your streaming box or whatever, or just use your Xbox One. Or, like, you were meant to plug in your DVR or cable box or whatever to the back of it, and have it go through the Xbox One and just make the Xbox One sort of your entertainment center, right? And that was kind of dumb. Microsoft, when they first launched the Xbox One, was sort of going through a phase of, we want the Xbox to be everything. The all-in-one entertainment platform for everyone, which was sort of the original mission statement of the PS3, and, well, just look how that turned out. they won once they stopped pushing that. I mean, there were other reasons that the Xbox One didn't do well. Namely, the launch was absolutely... Not launch, the announcement for it was absolutely botched. They announced it would be, what, $500, and would have to be connected to the internet, had to use Kinect, and couldn't play used games. And Sony absolutely dogged on them for that. They backtracked on all that, but, like, still, does this have a specific Kinect port? Hold on, does the Xbox One use a specific Kinect port, or is it just like, or does the thing connect just with USB? I never thought about that. I wonder if different models of Xbox One have or don't have the Kinect port because they stopped caring about Kinect. Oh, yeah, also, interestingly, if I recall correctly, the original Xbox One did not have a Blu-ray drive, it was just a disc drive. Like, just DVDs. Which was dumb and stupid. And if I'm wrong about that, then I'm dumb and stupid. Blu-ray support came in the form of an app that you had to download. This is dumb. That should be built in. Anyway, speaking of apps, this thing runs UWP, Universal Windows Platform, which means a lot of things can be ported to it fairly easily. My hand looks interesting here. Dang. A lot of things can be ported to the Xbox One fairly easily. Surprising number of games and other apps, and you can just get some Windows apps from the Microsoft Store on here. It also means it just straight up has regular Microsoft Edge, which, complain all you want about Edge, at least it is a web browser. You know, it's a modern web browser. You can't get extensions, unfortunately. That's actually really saddening. I would love to get an ad blocker on it. But, yeah, it has Edge, which is a serviceable web browser, I suppose. But there are probably other browsers that you could get, and I wonder if any of them could download/upload files. That's an interesting question. I need to look that up. Now, of course, if there aren't any browsers that you can get that are decent on the Microsoft Store, there's always another way. The Xbox One S and most versions of the original Xbox One don't have any kind of hack for them, right? At least not anymore. There was one hack that worked with them, but it required being on certain firmware versions, and that's not really feasible. Overall, One S, One X can't be hacked. The original Xbox One, a couple of models can, but they require some weird soldering, and it's just not worth it for most people. At least not at present. However, one way that you can get custom software is the official way. Microsoft has what they call dev mode. You can use your Xbox One or Xbox Series console as a dev kit. You pay Microsoft $20, and you get access to a whole separate mode for running custom apps, right? And it's really neat. I can appreciate that. They curbed piracy in probably the best way that they could have by giving the tinkerers something to do that doesn't enable piracy. And this is something that I think Sony could really benefit from. I keep mentioning Sony as though the video is about them. Anyway. So yeah, the Xbox One has dev mode, which you can just send apps over to it using the UWP platform. That's redundant. Using UWP. And just run custom apps. There are a lot of emulators that you can get on it. At least on Xbox Series consoles, you can run things like Dolphin and Xenia, so more compatibility. Yay! I think there's an original Xbox emulator available as well. I'm not sure, though. But I know that Microsoft does not allow emulators on the Microsoft Store in retail mode. So if you want emulators on your Xbox One, you are kind of stuck with dev mode. Which, again, does cost money, though I think they were introducing something where you just give your ID and get it for free. And I'm like, no. No, I'll pay the $20. You want my money, I'll give you my money. I'm not giving you my information. Which brings me to my leaving of Xbox. Microsoft has been getting worse. They've always been bad, but like, they've been getting worse and worse, right? What with Copilot being added to everything, and they upped the price of everything, like several months ago. And that, plus Copilot, plus the whole, you know, wanting your ID for stuff and all that, it kind of made me think, I don't really want to be on Xbox anymore, right? And, my thoughts on the Xbox brand kind of soured at that point. And then they got a new CEO. The current CEO of Xbox has been doing wonders to make it decent again. Like, decent enough that I'm willing to come back. I got an Xbox One again. I sold off my Xbox Series X several months ago because I was not expecting Microsoft to ever get better, and then Xbox started to get better again. They lowered back down the price of Xbox Game Pass. You know, Ultimate started being $30 a while back. Now it's back down to $22, which I'm still not paying for it, but that is a step in the right direction. The only thing is we don't get new Call of Duty releases on Game Pass anymore. But like, oh well. That shame, I guess. But it's that is a perfectly fine trade-off for it being so much cheaper. It's still not cheap, don't get me wrong, but cheaper. And they struck a deal with Discord. Discord and Xbox struck a deal wherein anyone with Discord Nitro would get a form of Xbox Game Pass for free, which is dope. Unfortunately, said form of Xbox Game Pass is Xbox Game Pass Starter, which doesn't include online multiplayer, which is the biggest bummer ever. Which, I know, there was the big bummer back in the 1930s, That was, sorry, the Great Depression. But Game Pass starter not including online multiplayer is really unfortunate. But at the very least, I'm getting access to games for free for something that I was already paying for. And also they announced that they are stopping development of Copilot for console entirely. And that there was enough for me to come back to Xbox. I don't plan on buying my games on Xbox much, like, unless I gotta, but, Xbox is starting to look reasonable again. Especially with Sony shooting themselves in the foot the way they have been. Cough, cough, their new DRM garbage thing that they're doing. But, yeah, Xbox is starting to look decent again. Oh wait, I didn't actually talk about the Series consoles. So, after the Xbox One, we got the Xbox Series consoles, which I did not have an Xbox One for a long time. I got a Series back in probably 23, I want to say? And it worked fine. The Series X and S are more powerful than the Xbox One. I think the Xbox One X is slightly more powerful than the Series S, but, like, not by that much. They have very boring designs. Like, if you thought the original Xbox One was boring, look at the Series X. That thing, people have compared that to a mini fridge. It's just rectangular. It's a rectangular prism. That's all it is. Then the Series S is like sort of a slimmer version, sort of ish. It's like the Xbox One S, except there's no lip here and no disk drive, and it's just kind of a semi-monolith thing with an Xbox logo on it. And one USB port. Can't forget about that one USB port. So the designs are boring. The power is definitely better, but honestly, the user experience is, at present, not that different. The UI is exactly the same between the two at the moment. And so, using my Xbox One now, I don't feel a substantial difference between it and my Series other than, and my Series X, other than the Xbox One is a little bit slower. The Series X and S are a little bit more snappier-ish. But, like, I don't feel that much difference overall. They are basically the same in terms of UX. And the Xbox Series S and X are both fully compatible with Xbox One games, with one exception that I have found. But we'll get back to that in a minute. And they're compatible with all the games the 360... Yeah, all the 360 games that the Xbox One is compatible with. Plus, the Series consoles also get some improvements for some 360 games. Like Sonic Unleashed, you can get a 60 FPS patch on Xbox Series consoles that it makes the game playable. It's fantastic. It is the best official way to play the game. The best way to play the game overall is Unleashed Recompiled, but, like, yeah, it's neither here nor there. But yeah, some games have improvements on... Some 360 games have improvements on Series X and S. Yeah. Otherwise, not that much difference, honestly. I mean, they have unique games, obviously, like the Series X and S can play games that the One can't. But at the same time, those games can generally be played on PC. So, not that much reason. I guess there's GTA 6, which is coming out in November. But, like, I'm not buying a console for that, I don't think. Can't get my Xbox Series X back. If I still had the Series X, I probably would get GTA 6 for it. But since I no longer have a current gen console, other than the Switch 2, and I know for a fact it's not coming to Switch 2. Since I don't have a current gen console, I'm not getting GTA 6. At least not until it comes out on PC, and even then, we'll see. But yeah, there are games that work on Series that don't work on One. Big shocker. But, I'm gonna do it on PC anyway. My PC is probably around as powerful as a Series X, I think. Maybe slightly less in some ways, but... I don't know. Now, back to that thing I mentioned about compatibility. There is a game, Sonic Superstars, that I played on Xbox Series X. That's where I bought the game initially, because, you know, I didn't want to deal with the new... Because, you know, I didn't want to deal with the Nuvo. And it had atrocious input lag. I showed it to Kovar, who I wish I could have recorded his face when he tried it. It was so bad. The grimace he made when he pressed jump was incredible. Genuinely unplayable on Xbox Series. But what's weird is on Xbox One, for some reason, it seems to be perfectly fine. Consider this anecdotal, because I can't test side by side, because I don't have an Xbox Series console at the moment. I guess I could... I do have a friend with an Xbox Series X. But consider this anecdotal. But it looks to be that Sonic Superstars runs better on Xbox One as far as input lag than Xbox Series. And that's really funny to me. Now, I don't have that many games for Xbox, right? Because I had a 360, and not all of those games work on Xbox One. And then I got an Xbox Series console, and by that point, I already had a pretty decent gaming PC, and I did a lot of my games on that, or I would play older games on older consoles, or Nintendo stuff. So, Xbox was never really my biggest priority for where I got my games. It was for a little bit, but, like, that was mostly for Sonic games because I didn't like Denuvo, and then I just stopped caring. Still don't like Denuvo, don't get me wrong. But, I don't know. Anyway, I don't have that many games, but Phantasm absolutely has a few more games than me. So we made a little deal. Xbox has a game sharing functionality, where if you set an Xbox as your home Xbox, the games that you own will be shared with any other users on that Xbox. So, Phantasm let me sign into his account on my Xbox and set my Xbox as his home Xbox. And I did the same with his Xbox. And so now, we can just share games with each other. And that's pretty neat. It also shares Game Pass, which means I have multiplayer without me having to pay for it, which is dope. And don't remind Microsoft about this, they might get rid of it. But it's just, yeah, it's neat, and I can appreciate that a lot. And yeah, I don't know really what else to talk about, and my coffee's getting cold. So, the moral of the story is, everyone should get the Minecraft Edition Xbox One. It's got redstone on the bottom. If this isn't the most incredible thing you've ever seen... And this has been Coffee with Bann.